What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Poly Sports Podcast, Episode 4. I'm your host, Anel Ceballos, and today I'm here joined with two staff writers of the Poly Post, Arturo Aguirre and Jonathan Frias. So for our first segment of today's episode, we'll be discussing March Madness. Now, we just saw the first round of the men's tournament, and to give us a recap for today, we have here is senior college basketball Mark Lizano. Now, Mark, what was the biggest takeaway of the first round?
Thank you, Anel. So some of my takeaways. First, let's start off with the Pac-12, right? Obviously, my UCLA Bruins are from that same conference, and you guys as USC Trojans. Overall, the team showed off really well in the first round. So you have USC, UCLA, Colorado, as well as Oregon State. UCLA won their game in the first four, as well as their game in the first round as an underdog. Oregon State did the same thing as an underdog. USC looked impressive in their game against Drake, and Colorado was probably the most impressive in their performance against Georgetown. Now, I feel like there's a bit of an East Coast bias. To be honest, we know people on the East Coast don't watch teams on the West Coast. Let's just be frank, right? So, in other years, the Pac-12 hasn't really done that well, but this year they're showing, look, we've been underrated as a conference and badly seeded. Alabama as a 2 seed lost to Stanford by 18 earlier this year. They didn't even make the tournament, right? So I just feel like we were badly underseeded. Oregon was the regular season champion, was a 7th seed, but yeah, I thought Colorado was the most impressive of the first round. But the transition to my next point, in that game, Georgetown's story was really great, right? Patrick Ewing, former Knick, former Georgetown Hoya. His former coach was John Thompson Jr., probably the most famous African-American head coach ever, right? I feel like there's an underrepresentation of African-Americans in the sport. There simply isn't enough coaches. When I watch these games, there's, Calvin Sampson, Shaka Smart, Mike Boynton. There needs to be more. And with John Thompson's recent passing, I think that there needs to be more of a push for more representation in terms of African Americans in the leadership role. Speaking of great coaches, that brings me to Tony Bennett. I have one thing to say. Virginia's flat out overrated. This is the third time they've gone out early in the past 5 years. 2016, they lost to Syracuse, who was a 10 seed, to go to the Final Four. 2018, they were the first team to ever lose to a 16 seed. I mean, that's flat out embarrassing. Let's be honest. And this past year, they lost to a 13 seed. You won the ACC. Win your first round game. Show up. Someone who did show up in that game is Jason Preston. Jason Preston played out of his mind. This is a guy who averaged 2 points a game in high school, went to a prep school, finally ended up at Ohio, and is now a March Madness star. Doesn't get any better than that. Tune in for his next game. Back to you, Anel.
Okay, so thank you, Mark, for that. With March Madness, we all know how exciting and anything could happen. We could have the biggest upset. With that being said, who is your guys' Final Four and why? Arturo, we'll start with you.
Well, Anel, I can say for most, my bracket has been solely been busted since day one with Ohio State. I had them going to the Final Four. Sadly, that ain't the case. We, a lot of big upsets going on, disrupting my bracket, but we move as we say in the real world. But for my Final Four, I have Gonzaga. Nothing more to be said. I know Mark mentioned earlier, Gonzaga is literally up here, and the rest of the number seeds are falling behind. I have Michigan. Obviously Michigan's been a little sturdy, but they've hopefully they can bounce back with a good solid tournament run. I also have Baylor. Another number 1 seed. So I have 3 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. It could happen, it could not, but this is how I feel about it. And then obviously for my last pick, it'll probably be Houston. Houston's been looking okay so far. They've I feel like they're gonna have a deep run as well. But I mean, anything can happen from here till the end of the tournament. I can be completely wrong, and every single one of my picks can be out of the tournament in the snap of a finger. But for my Final Four, I have Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor, and Houston. That's it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, now Jonathan, who's your Final Four?
All right, before I get into my Final Four, Arturo, That was a pretty safe Final Four, if I do say so myself. But let's just get Gonzaga out the way. They're a very balanced team. They have some seniors, and they also have a star freshman in Suggs who averages 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. They're undefeated. Do I need to say more? They're gonna be in the Final Four for sure. Baylor, there was a lot of talk heading in. They had a COVID pause where they didn't play for a while, and people were worried if they'll get bounced early. That's not the case. They're showing up in each game. Their defense is more than capable to win, not only just to make it to the Final Four, but to win the championship. They play that type of level of defense. My third team, Loyola Chicago. I love the way these guys play. Now it doesn't even start with the players. I think it starts with the coach, the coach and the coaching staff. They play some flawless basketball, guys, and it always feels like they're more prepared than the other team. My last team is Colorado. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna put a team from the Pac-12 in there. Since they were so disrespected, I'm gonna put Colorado in there as my fourth team. I love the way they play. They get hot when they shoot threes. And hey, those are my 4 teams.
Okay. So, Mark, you're the pro here. Do you agree with these guys? What is your Final Four? Let us know.
First, I'll start off with Arturo, right? That was so safe. Like, come on. Take a risk. Choose, if this tournament hasn't taught you anything, come on. Go with the underdog, right? Jonathan, come on. Colorado, dude, they're not even going to get past Scotty Barnes and Florida State. Let's be real here. But to my picks, Gonzaga, obviously, I think Gonzaga's going to win the entire tournament. They're the runaway favorite for obvious reasons. Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs, Andrew Nembhard, Drew Timme inside. They're absolutely loaded. Probably 3 of the best 15 players in the country. My other pick would have to be Baylor as well. Just great guard play, right? That's what you look for in March. Maceo Teague, Jared Butler. I mean, they're loaded. Mark Vital inside. They're finally playing well after that long COVID pause. You could tell they're kind of working the kinks out, but they looked really good today against Wisconsin. My next pick, I'm going with Loyola Chicago as well. Reason why? Porter Moser, right? They've made a Final Four. They're not the normal underdog, right? They made it as an 11th seed. Mind you, that time when they made it, their first 3 games they won by a combined 4 points. They sort of got lucky the first time, right? This go around, they're much better. Cameron Krutwig's back, experienced, and I feel really strongly about that team going forward. And for my last pick, I'd have to go with Alabama. Simply their 3-point shooting. Shackelford, Quinterly, they're loaded. And I don't think a lot of people have watched them play, but they can get up on you in a hurry. So.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mark. You went over time. We gotta keep going. But now, Arturo, all these guys are saying you're safe. How do you feel about that? Let us know.
Look, I understand, but this at the same time, obviously with March Madness, anything can happen. But at the same time, as we get closer and closer to the Elite Eight, not first the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, we see the true competitors, like we mentioned in our previous podcast, the pretenders and the contenders. We're here for the contenders. We're not trying to see underdog. Yes, that's great storylines, but at the end of the day, the top teams want to win. And then
Mark, wait, hold up. Arturo,
you mentioned
Arturo.
The Pac-12.
Hey. Arturo, you're too much. Let us know, Jonathan, what's going on.
Hey, they want to win. I want $1 million. I'm not getting it. At the end of the day, this tournament, you earn every victory. And Mark, Colorado's gonna get on a run. They have McKinley Wright and Walker. Walker's heating up. Watch. He's muted. He can't even face my facts.
McKinley Wright's about all they have. Sorry, I was muted. McKinley Wright's about all they have. But when it comes to Michigan, that's a terrible pick, right? They're going to play LSU. They don't even have the best player on the floor. Isaiah Livers is hurt. Cam Thomas is the best player on the floor. And I'm telling you, Jonathan, Colorado will lose the next round. I've watched this team play all year. They're not very good.
No.
They really got a good matchup in the first round playing Georgetown, who was 13-12.
You're gonna give credit to the Pac-12 and then not choose and not say Colorado's not contending? Come on, Mark.
You can win. You can win one game, but that doesn't mean make the.
Okay, that's enough. Y'all are doing too much talking. We're done hearing from you guys, but we want to know what you guys have to what your guys' picks. Let us know down below in the comments. Do you agree? Are these picks whack? Let us know. But before we get into our next segment, we have two silent reporters, Alan and Diana, to give us our Bronco Silent Report. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, guys. I'm Diana, and this is my colleague, Alan, and today we're going to give you the Bronco Silent Report. So, according to social media posts from players and personnel, the amenities provided to women in the NCAA tournament lag far behind from those of men. So, we had 20-year-old University of Oregon forward Sedona Prince. She posted a video that went viral as she displayed the weight rooms in San Antonio, Texas. It took this 13 million viewed viral video to pressure the NCAA to fix the weight room inequality problems. We just have to do better for women in sports. Another major headline in soccer is that 39-year-old Zlatan will be returning to play for the Sweden international team this World Cup of 2022. After we thought we were done seeing him. We also had the UEFA Champions League draw the upcoming matches for the quarter and semifinals, where we will be seeing Bayern Munich go up against PSG. For more information on these matchups, check local listings. So, Alan, what's going on in the NFL?
Thanks, Diana. After failing to protect their superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs are shoring up their offensive line by signing offensive guards Joe Thuney and Kyle Long to deals. Another AFC team making noise this offseason are the Cleveland Browns. After not making it past the divisional round this past season, they have bolstered their secondary by signing safety John Johnson III and Troy Hill away from the Rams on multi-year deals. These are just some of the moves that I think will make a big impact for these Super Bowl hopeful teams heading into next season. That's going to do it for us on the Bronco Sideline Report. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Diana and Alan, for the Sideline Report. Now, moving on to our second segment of the episode, we're talking the NBA. The reigning champion Los Angeles Lakers have been hit with a plethora of injuries to their two main superstars, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who will be out for a long period of time. We've seen the trade deadline is going to be this upcoming Thursday, so plenty of moves that the Lakers may be making, but so far, no noise. With that being said, guys, are the Lakers truly in danger to repeat as champions? Mark, we'll start off with you first.
I think they're in serious danger, right? Obviously, the injury is not a good sign. This team's a way different team defensively if AD's not healthy. Where's the playmaking going to come from if LeBron isn't healthy, right? Let's face it. He's 36 years old. At some point, his body's going to break down. Father time will get everyone except for Tom Brady, apparently. But the point I really want to look at is last season. And the reason why I bring that up is with this season starting so soon after, it was a 2-month break. Look at the last 4 teams that were in the bubble. You take Boston, Miami, Denver, and LA. There's been some lingering effects. Boston and Miami are barely above 500, right? Denver struggled out of the gate, and now they're playing better. But still, I believe they're about 6th in the West. Teams like Brooklyn, KD didn't play last year. Kyrie wasn't playing in the playoffs. So I personally think they have an advantage, and they're going to be healthy going forward. So, yeah, I think the Lakers are in serious trouble. I mean, not to mention Brooklyn's talent, right, with Harden, the recent signing of Griffin, right? I think they're going to present serious matchup problems. And the Clippers, too. The Lakers avoided the Clippers last year, but we know that they're a bad matchup. And if AD's not healthy, Montrezl Harrell is going to get exposed defensively like he did in the playoffs last year against Nikola Jokic. So those are my thoughts on Lakers.
Well, Mark, you make some really good points there. Jonathan, I've noticed you have that lingering thinking look. What do you feel like? Do you think the Lakers are super danger of not repeating as champions again?
Hey, Arturo, let me ask you, if you have someone 6'6" that could handle the ball and is a great passer, and a big who's a playmaker, and shooters around them, does that sound like a championship team to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is the 76ers, because the Lakers are in danger. The 76ers, the Lakers should be worried. They're in danger of losing, but they're in danger of losing to the 76ers. they're a very identical team. The 76ers have Ben Simmons, who's a great passer. Sure, everyone talks about his shooting, but he does everything else at a really high level. And the most important thing is that he could match up defensively with LeBron right there. Embiid, we all know what kind of season he's had. He is injury prone too, but I think the Lakers are in danger, and the biggest threat is the Sixers. And furthermore, the Brooklyn Nets are a dangerous team, but I mean, at this point, I'm gonna just call them the Brooklyn Rockets because they're the same team as they're built exactly the same way as the Houston Rockets. Mike D'Antoni's there. We all know Steve Nash shined with Mike D'Antoni. They're practically the same thing. Just shoot threes, no defense, which it leads to pretty stats. They average 120 points per game, by far the highest in the NBA. They shoot 40% from threes. These are great stats on paper, but hey, they don't translate to the playoffs. We all know this. I don't care that they have KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't translate. That system doesn't work. The Lakers should be worried. I don't think there's any team in the West they should be worried about. I mean, look, LeBron just needs some time to heal up, like a couple weeks heading into the playoffs, and he should be good for the Western Conference. But
Jonathan, you rambled on for too much, man. You made some really good points, but you got to keep it short, sweet, and simple, man, and you just didn't do that. Now, Anel, I noticed the background. I noticed the jersey. You're standing between the two guys that the Lakers are desperately in need of. Are the Lakers, to you, in danger of not repeating as champions?
So, I think that my answer is only influenced because the Lakers are injured. So yes, they are in danger, but you know what? With James Harden, with LeBron James, I'm over here thinking about the Brooklyn Nets, but with LeBron James and Anthony Davis being out, this actually just gives a question like, do the Lakers have a good enough team without them? And we need, the Lakers, they need to step it up. They need to fill those spots, right? I don't agree at all with Jonathan because the 76ers, nobody's looking at them, all right? Everyone's looking at the Brooklyn Nets, and I think that's the biggest threat for the East side. Of course, it's true. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, right? They're a huge team. I agree with that. I think that's the biggest threat. For the West, I know Utah Jazz is doing really good, but I think a healthy Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis doing with them coming back, I think that they can take on anybody. And even though the Utah Jazz is doing good, I think that they'll get them. Like, it's over. And I think the biggest threat for the West is the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, even though I don't like them at all, they are good players. But I think that in a series with them, the Lakers will for sure, take them down in a game 6, right? So I just feel like I'm only worried because, the two main guys are in danger, but are injured. But I think once they get healthy, it's over for everybody else. They should be back in this, and it's not a problem. So I just feel like the Lakers are good after, when they come back strong. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you enough for that. Jonathan, I'm gonna go back to you for a little bit. I noticed you're shaking your head. She called you out. She doesn't agree with you. I have to say, care to rebuttal?
Hey, Embiid is averaging 30 points, 12 rebounds. Ben Simmons, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And then you have Danny Green, Seth Curry, both averaging at 40% threes.
Jonathan,
3-point shots. What's up?
I want to correct you on something. Ben Simmons is not 6'6", so let's first correct that, okay? So you're saying he playmaker at 6'6", the guy's more like 6'10", all right?
No, I'm saying like 6'6" and above. Like,
okay, sure, okay.
Because LeBron's not that tall.
Right. The team that needs to be talked about is Utah. Why is no one talking about Utah? Okay, they had 3 All-Stars this year.
They're
Rudy
pretenders.
Gobert, Mike Conley. They're not. Donovan Mitchell. They're first in the West. All they do is win games, guys. Jordan Clarkson off the bench. they're a real competitor.
But where's the
And they're gonna-
experience?
Yeah,
NBA
they
playoff
need
basketball,
experience,
it's a
for
whole
sure.
different
Mike
level.
Conley was in the playoffs every single year. Donovan
Yeah, but
Mitchell's
he-
won playoff series. What do you mean? Where's the experience? They just won 7 with Denver last year. They were Mike Conley 3 away. From
I think
winning
they're
the
good.
series.
I think they look good. I'll give you that. I think they look good. But I think that, are they really going to be the championships? Are they really a threat to Brooklyn Nets? Are they really a threat? Like, I don't feel like they're that good.
Hey, hold up. Yeah, hold up. Let me just say this. The Utah Jazz, their second best player, Rudy Gobert, he doesn't even average 20 points.
He doesn't.
Get out of
He
here.
doesn't.
Get out of here with this Utah Jazz love.
Former defensive player of the year. Like, defense doesn't matter anymore.
I also need to
Come
add
on.
this. Didn't the Utah Jazz, forgive me for barging in, but they blew a 3-1 series lead last year against who? The Denver Nuggets?
Yep.
You tell me they're contenders, but yet they're blowing leads. I'm just saying.
So did the Clippers, and we think they're contenders, right?
I'm out on the Clippers. I'll say that. I agree with
Yeah,
you. Or
the
who's
Clippers-
saying?
All right, guys. We said our piece. It's getting a little hostile. Just keep it down. But that'll do it, everyone, for episode number 4 of the Poly Sports Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed. Tune in next time for the next episode. Till then, catch you later.
Hi everybody, my name is Amber Lee. I'm the sports section editor for the Poly Post. I hope you guys enjoyed the latest episode of the Poly Sports Podcast. For more content, you can subscribe to the Poly Post YouTube channel and remember to turn on those post notifications to know when we upload another video. You can find more from the Poly Post on our new mobile app now available on the App Store and on Google Play. Stay safe and see you guys next time.